Hello and welcome to this presentation on Object Unit. Object Unit is a unit testing library built specifically for Siebel by Enterprise Beacon Inc. At Enterprise Beacon, we are focused on building tools to facilitate the SDLC for Siebel CRM. Our other product, Object Hive, is a version control tool built specifically for Siebel. So what is unit testing? Well, that's the definition of unit testing as found on Wikipedia. But unit testing is testing of all the individual components that make up a software application to ensure that it supports all the functional use cases that the business desires during the development phase. Unit testing is probably the most important testing that any organization can do. As you can see by this chart and many other well-published studies, catching defects during development represents one of the largest cost savings an organization can have. Yet, this has been one of the most neglected areas for Siebel, and as we'll see, this is not mostly by choice, but due to the lack of tools. So let's look at a simple Siebel scenario where a developer is developing a service request business component. The service request can have up to 10 different types as seen here. It can have these 7 different statuses, and it's expected to support the normal CRUD operations: query, insert, update, and delete. So let's see how many test cases that is. That's about 280 test cases just for this one particular business component. These are unit test cases that a developer should be testing for their BC. Of course, real life scenarios are much more complex. You're not just going to have 10 different service request types. You may have up to 50, 60, 70 different service request types. You may have complications that have dependency on the service request date. There may be dependencies on testing whether it's assigned to the right person, whether it's reassigned to the right person. So mind you, real life scenarios are much more complex, and the resulting unit test cases are going to be even higher, in the thousands or if not the tens of thousands for each component. So how is real-life testing done for these real-life Siebel scenarios? Well, we call it the happy path testing. The developer creates one service request type, moves it to some of the critical statuses, for example, open, in progress, and closed. If everything checks out, the build is moved to test. The QA people come in, they test a few additional service request types and statuses, and then if everything checks out, the build is moved to production. And everyone lives happily ever after. Well, not really. When the build makes it to production, a huge number of defects is uncovered. This is obvious since only 10% of the 280 test cases has probably been tested. The remaining testing is unfortunately being done by your production users at a huge cost to your organization. So the happy path testing gives the organization a real serious heartburn. So who's to blame for this predicament? The business users? Definitely not, but they would love to have a clean build. The management? Not really. They depend on the QA and development to provide a clean build. The QA? Well, in these days of declining timelines and budgets, there's not much they can do as well. Development? Well, as far as Siebel is concerned, neither of them, because there are no automated unit testing tools for Siebel. And so goes on the cycle of bad builds. The solution is obvious by now. We need an automated unit testing library for Siebel. There's also another piece that we would like to point out, which is version control, which has also been missing in Siebel for a very long time. So once these defects are uncovered, it is very important to identify the changes that caused those defects. But this talk will focus primarily on automated unit testing. So please continue to watch the series on Object Unit, a library built specifically for unit testing Siebel, and achieve the testing coverage that your build deserves. Do not hesitate to reach out to us at sales@enterprisebeacon.com if you have any more questions.